All right, welcome back into another edition of the Winning Plays podcast, and we are live from NBA Summer League in Las Vegas. My name is Brian Robb, joined here by Souichi Terada, also of Mass Live, my partner in crime, and we have a podcast for you guys today, coming off of what was probably the craziest Summer League game, certainly of 2022, maybe of Celtics history. I don't want to make any grand association, Souichi, but it was madness. But this is going to be, we're not about to talk about this game. We're going to talk about general Summer League takeaways so far after a couple of days in the books here out in Las Vegas. But Souichi, where do you want to start from the game tonight? The Celtics played a boring game earlier this week against the Heat. They came back tonight in a grueling rematch against the Bucks from the Eastern Conference semifinals. We had Grant Williams and Pat Connaughton going toe-to-toe on the sidelines, trying to talk down the refs. But this is what are you going to remember the most from this game?
You remember the score changes, two of them.
Yes.
You remember Matt Ryan's 3-pointer? I think that was pretty cool. And, B-Rob, I kind of thought, I agree with you, obviously, with the whole boring game thing. Like, through 3.5 quarters, like, it was a very boring game. Like, I was obviously watching. I was trying to get my takeaways and everything, but I kept looking at the score, and I'm like, well, the Celtics made a run in the second, and then they got, absolutely, like, they got punched in the face in the third, much like the A-team squad during the playoffs and everything. But the thing I was, I don't know if this is a takeaway, but I thought the intensity kind of perked up a little bit after one of Juhann's dunks. Like, I was like, oh, okay. I think it was the one where he posterized the guy. I forgot how much time there was left. But after that, it seemed like there was a little bit more like spiciness to it. I think there was at one point a Bucks player had just a wide open lane. He dunked it, and he was like a little bit, like for a summer league dunk, like sure, like you're gonna get excited, right? Like whatever. But like I thought there was like a little bit more spiciness to the game.
There's some juice there.
And then it kind of like, yeah. And I was like kind of watching a little, like this was before like the score change and everything like that. I want to say, I was like, okay, like you can kind of tell there's a little bit more, Grant's impact Connaughton is like getting into it on the sideline, which is funny. But like I thought the Juhann dunk kind of set the stage a little bit for like actual like an actual game atmosphere, and then the whole score change and Matt Ryan hitting a 3-pointer all happened. So that's it was a lot. And I think that's why we're talking about like a random summer league game, right? The second one. But the Celtics prevailed, and it was very entertaining to so press row was very entertaining. I can say at least that much.
It was sheer madness in the fourth quarter, to the point where like, oh, we should actually, like you said, talk about this game. And so let's and I know I'm not going to guess at what percentage of listeners of this podcast actually like watch this game. I'm going to guess it's pretty low. If you did, like, forgive us for going over some of the crazy things that happened here. But let's explain the situation with what happened with the score. Cause I don't think we're ever going to see this again.
Yeah.
Period. Like the Celtics were down by two points, about 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And then that conflicted with what the official box score said. They were down by 4 points. Mm-hmm. And so they stopped the game in the arena, Souichi, for at least a couple minutes. And they eventually went with the official box score and moved the Bucks up from up 2 to up 4. Mm-hmm. Then this happens. They play 3 more minutes. There's 10 seconds left in the game of a 1-point game, Souichi. Bucks up 1. And then the game stops again on a foul call. And everyone's like, what's going on? They're at the table for another 3 or 4 minutes. And then lo and behold, they give the Celtics 2 points back and take away a point from the Bucks. So the Celtics go from down 1 to up 1. And
yeah.
I just can't even. I know it's a summer league game, but it was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the first time like we've seen him like a wrong score. Like I remember last season, I think it was against like Pacers or something.
That's right.
And I think the box score is wrong. We were all like, what's going on here? There's a discrepancy and everything. But 2 things I wanted to add on, B-Rob, to your play-by-play. One of the things I was actually impressed by before the score change and everything, the Celtics were down like 106, 100. and this was before the score changed, mind you. So the official play-by-play is not going to say that, but they went on like a quick 6-0 run to actually make it a game, which I thought was like, okay, that's kind of, once again, just like a little bit of juice, a little bit of spiciness. And the second thing is, like, I remember when JD Davison went up to the free throw line when they were down by 2 points. Yeah. I was like, this is actually like, like obviously a summer league and everything, but like, I'm sure this dude is like kind of nervous, like you got to, and I forgot, I think that was with like 11 seconds left and he missed the front end of the free throw, like.
Yeah, that was right before they changed the score. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought going into it, I was kind of like, this is kind of good development for like a 19-year-old. Like the stakes don't really matter because it's summer league, but like I'm sure the stakes matter for him. So he's gonna put all the pressure in the world for him. So I thought those were valuable reps. He ended up hitting the second free throw, which in the box score, as I look at it now, like
that put the Celtics ahead actually.
Yeah, 108, 107 technically. So technically, JD Davison made a go-ahead free throw, even though that was not the case whatsoever. But that was kind of like. Obviously, we can go into this huge, long rabbit hole about what changing the score does that late in the game. Obviously, that's never going to happen.
It's just so hilarious.
Like obviously, that's pressure and game situations. Everything changes, but like those two things, I was kind of like, okay, it just more madness into just this ridiculousness. And we were joking with a league PR person or whoever it was, just like we want to pull a report from the officials just because of like how egregious it really all was. And I felt bad for you, B-Rock, because you had like takeaway gamer duties, and I was just sitting there watching this unfold, and you were like, okay, I got to rewrite this, and this. So
sheer madness on the in the Vegas trip here. But yeah, it was good. Just something you will never see again. And then on top of it all, to both teams score again, and Matt Ryan has an incredible buzzer beater to win the game while spraining his ankle with 0.5 seconds left. But let's go through, now that we got through like the madness of the scores and the league situation. But you brought up JD Davison. Let's do some quick hit stuff on all these guys that actually matter who have played out here so far. And we'll start with him since he's the rookie. He's got the 2-way deal right now. This game, he didn't make a ton of an impact. Overall, had a rough time ball handling wise, 5 turnovers compared to 6 assists there. But what's kind of stuck out to you so far from him in these, in this action out here in Vegas? And what do you think? Are you thinking he'll have a chance at getting one of those 15-man roster spots, or do you think this is he's a 2-way guy for at least another year or two here?
I think he's probably a 2-way guy. Just to answer your question right off the bat. One thing I have noticed about JD, he's under control and in a lot of good ways, but there were like a couple times at least watching the game where I was like, ooh, this could be like a transition opportunity. And he kind of slowed it down a little bit. And, like obviously for a 19-year-old, like, especially in summer league, like these are just live game reps, like, maybe go see, go attack the rim. Like the thing with JD is, and he hasn't quite shown it yet, but like dude is really athletic. Like he can fill up a highlight sheet. So I think though, maybe he was playing a little bit conservative, but I've been kind of impressed by that under controlness. Like he only had, I believe, 1 turnover in the first game, which was huge because it's pretty much everyone on the Celtics is turning it over that game. So I think there's a lot of talent there, like obviously you see some of the weaknesses, like you're happy about the 6 assists, not happy with the 5 turnovers. Like he had another like tough time shooting the ball. He was only 1 for 5 for 5 points. And he missed that kind of one free throw that we were talking about. But overall, I think you feel good. Like you got to remember, like this dude doesn't turn 20 until later this year. He's only going to get better. He's only 19 years old. Like you can clearly see like the talent that's there. There are a few times where I was kind of like, I wish he would like blow by a big or something like that. And he kind of got stopped. But overall, I think you feel good if you're a Celtics fan. Like this is pretty much like, in my opinion, like a best case scenario for number 53. Like you're not going to get like a sure thing, but if you're going to try for a home run, like I think JD Davison at least has shown flashes so far through 2 games.
Right. Like someone who could eventually get there to be at least has the tools to get there, which usually isn't the case for someone taking that spot. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you make a good point in terms of the transition stuff, the being able to blow by bigs, like, maybe going a little bit slower than you should in those spots. But that's stuff that for a 19-year-old that you're going to learn. They're going to have plenty of time to figure that out in Maine this year. But beyond some struggles with the passing decisions and things like that, which I don't think he's like a true point guard regardless, but whether he can work his way into that, that's going to be like plenty of work to do there, plenty of work to do with his shot itself, and he'll have plenty of time for that.
Yeah, and
most of the year.
just one thing to add to that, like if you're an evaluator, like I would probably prefer somebody who goes a little too slow sometimes and somebody who goes a little too fast and makes erratic decisions like that. I mean, his decisions were perfect in game 2, but still, like I would prefer somebody who can control, the pace a little bit more than some guy who just barreling at the rim. Like I've seen many college point guards do that. So it's refreshing to see this. This should be college student now, not doing that in the pros.
All right, where you want to go next? I'll give you the next choice here.
Let's do Matt Ryan.
Yeah,
the man of the hour,
Mr. DoorDash. It's so the game high 23 points off the bench against the Bucks in 24 minutes, 6-11 from 3-point range. I believe he was 3 from 5 from 3-point range in his first game, so that puts him over 50% from 3 during summer league, which is all the summer league numbers mean everything. But no, this is a guy who was brought in because they just want to take a look at a shooter at the end of last season on a 2-way deal. And you had a great story about him on Mass Live, just talking about where he came from, that now is going viral again after his incredible buzzer beater tonight. But I don't know, it's he was probably the last guy I thought would actually have a shot to stick around for next year when all is said and done. But he's had the best summer league out of everyone on the Celtics so far. So that I guess that counts for something, right?
Yeah, let's so the stats I have it pulled up on Real GM. 19 points a game, 55% from the field, 52.6% from 3. He set all the free throws. The thing about Matt, I think, is that like there are some players that in summer league, like you're gonna get those reps where you're not gonna get those reps with if you ever get spot minutes during like the rotation, right? Like that's what we're talking about for summer league. But with Matt, like the thing that's impressed me is he's hasn't been a starter. Like he's been kind of that 6-man role in summer league, and that's kind of, I'm not gonna say he's a 6-man, but like he's come into the game and just kind of light it up, and like he's made some tough shots, like he has a quick release and everything. Like that's like it was kind of like microwave-esque in the way he's scoring, and I think that's like kind of like I think those are good reps because that's like they're replicable like during NBA action, right? Like if I'm not saying he will be, but he has a few steps to go. But like if he's ever going to contribute to a team eventually, and you need him for like 5 to 10 minutes in like a random game because COVID has ravaged your roster or whatever, right? Like for example, like and he comes in, he hits like 2 or 3 threes, and you feel good about it, and then you can just kind of take him out. Like I think that's kind of the role he should, as of now, like he needs to kind of improve on a lot of things, but that's kind of the role he can do. And that's what's impressed me, I think, about Matt. It's just, he's not afraid to shoot. Like he's not afraid to, go for that gamer. Like clearly he, even if he misses, like he's getting up his shots. So, and he's making them most importantly. So, I don't know if he'll, we talked about this off air, but like, I don't know if he'll get a 2-way contract with the Celtics, but I think he'll get a shot elsewhere just because of what he's been able to do.
Yep. No, he's definitely turned some heads after what he's done these first 2 games there. And so I think when you can actually progress from him to the other guy in that role, or what the Celtics hopefully will be in that role for next year, and that's Sam Hauser, who had a real rough opening game, at least from a shooting perspective, looked more like himself against the Bucks in game 2 at 12 points in 17 minutes, kind of sat out the second half when he had a little shoulder thing, but it doesn't sound like a big deal. But I mean, it seems like for him, it's more, is he doing other things that the team, like whether it's defensively or, creating, doing more in summer league than he's obviously going to have a chance to do when he ever gets his minutes in a normal game. And so he's kind of working on that stuff below surfaces, but defensively, I mean, he just looks like there's nothing to be too worried about here. They invested in him. It looks like he's coming along. He's older than a lot of these other guys, but I think that he will at the least be hopefully like it's like another version of what Matt Ryan has shown these first couple games. Yeah,
and obviously, like people talk about it on Twitter and everything. Like the looks you're getting in summer league are simply not the looks you're going to get.
No,
and in the NBA, especially if we're talking microwave score and putting up a couple of shots, like Jason and Jalen are gonna realistically suck all that attention. And Sam Hauser should be able to get a good looks at 3 and I'm very curious to see about his development, just because like even last year when I briefly spoke to him during summer league, like obviously they were harping defense. Like realistically, like Sam Hauser, like he's gonna have his limitations. Like he's not gonna be like a bona fide 3-and-D guy. But like if he can become at least passable and space the floor, like I think that brings a lot of value. And like the Celtics signed him to like a multi-year contract for a reason. The next 2 years, I believe, guaranteed. Like clearly they see something in this guy, and maybe part of that is like a roster spot situation. Like we do have a few right now, but I think I'm curious just in terms of how he can develop on defense, just because I think offensively, like even in his like limited minutes last year, like I thought he saw good things, but it really just comes down to the defense. So, but I think he kind of realizes that he seems like a hard worker, and the team keeps working with him on it. So, but like I said, I don't know how much these summer league reps are going to, I don't know, kind of change my view on him, just because the leagues are so different compared to like the actual league.
Yeah, that's the thing to watch with him once we get into the real training camp in a couple months compared to what he's doing out here. But okay, Souichi, who do you got next year?
Let's do Juhann Begarin.
Yeah, I was hoping you go with him. What do you got?
Well, one, I think people kind of forget he's only 19. Like he's only like, I think I tweeted it was like 3 months older than JD Davison. You gotta, I really respect him in a lot of ways. Like he had like, I think in game 2, like he airballed, I think a 3-pointer, and like a couple possessions later, maybe literally the next possession, like he put it up and he sunk it. So like you can see so much good things, B-Rob, that I'm still like, some people were just maybe a little down on him just because he did have a tough start. But like I said, like that dunk, like this dude is like an NBA athlete. I don't think you can, right? Like I don't think you can argue that in any ways. And I think the mindset is good. Like he's still a very raw product, but I think you feel really great because he's just 19 years old. Like give him, maybe a year or two overseas still. Who knows? Maybe they want to bring him over, maybe they want to bring him on one of the 2-way contract spots. Maybe not this year, but next year kind of deal. But you look at Juhann and I'm like, this guy is like clearly athletic, clearly, has kind of that mindset that maybe some players are missing in terms of just go on for the next play. You can keep playing and everything like that. So overall, like kind of like Sam, like my viewpoint hasn't changed too much. Like I think there are some things he does a little bit better compared to last year. Like I think he's stuffing the stat box a little bit more. Just 6 rebounds a game, 2 assists, 1.5 steals a game. Overall, I think you feel good. At the same time though, like he's still very limited offensively. But hey, at least he's putting up shots. That I think that has to count for something, especially in summer league. So.
Yeah, the short memory part of his game, I think, is what stood out most to me. Where he is having an absolutely miserable night before the fourth quarter against the Bucks, and then out of nowhere, just seemed like he was everywhere, all over the court, and like you said, not afraid to shoot again from 3, like after a miserable air ball, and then putting together a couple impressive steals that led to easy buckets. So the tools, the athleticism, as you talked about, is there. I don't expect him. I still think he's still like at least a good year away from being even somebody you consider playing if you're the Celtics. So I expect them to leave him overseas for 1 more year. And then maybe you get a legit shot at 2-way. But I don't know, maybe the case can be made to, you get him in your system in Maine, and that way he progresses faster. I don't know. I'll be curious to see what direction they go in from that standpoint.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think it just comes back down to the age. Just, obviously he was drafted in 2021, but he was one of the youngest in that class, and once again, like he's only a few months older than JD Davison. So yeah, but I think, like you said, B-Rob, just one last thing is just I think he's one like good productive year away from coming here. I don't know if you want to burn like one of those 2-way years on him if you don't really see that kind of development this year. So, but I once again, I still think you're optimistic just because you're a fan, but because that dunk he had today was
legit.
Sick. That was so cool, and I did not expect that in summer league, especially out of like. Not to say I didn't expect it from Juhann, but it's like I just was, like I was just enjoying the game, which was kind of boring, and then suddenly got spicy. So I was like, okay, all right, let's get on this wild ride that nobody expects it to take so many twists and turns.
Everyone had to buckle up for that, but yeah, that dunk, no matter summer league, real NBA game, that was legit. Let's talk about it. We'll go quick for these last 2 guys. I'll go to this guy because no one's really talking about him, but I think he had a sneaky, really good game against the Bucks too, and that's Brodric Thomas, who 14 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, a couple steals, no turnovers, couple blocks.
No turnovers, yeah.
So this is, again, he's been around. I'm not even sure. He's close to. He might not even be eligible for a 2-way beyond 1 more year, if that, because he's been in the league for a couple of years now. But from a size perspective, defensively, I think he's clear that like if they want a more like a wingy type guy that's familiar with the system, like he might have the inside track because his like rebounding and just getting, into other players so far in summer league, that's looked pretty good. And the offense is, he's not doing much there beyond, creating for himself, and the 3-point shot is iffy, but yeah, he's someone who, if they don't want a shooter in that role, like that's probably your next best bet.
Yeah, a couple things on Brodric is he was making the hustle plays, like diving on the floors, like he tried to draw a charge that I thought was kind of, maybe a little bit more closer than the ref gave it and everything. But I think if you're the Celtics, obviously you appreciate that. You want that from one of those guys. And number two is the point guard experiment wasn't too great in game one for Brodric.
No. Not a natural point guard.
Yeah, and I think that's fine, like you said. So I think it comes down to his shot mostly. I forgot the exact specific two-way rules, but he was drafted in 2020. So I think
okay, so he's got one more year for
yeah, and then obviously, the Celtics can only give him that second two-way. So but yeah, I don't know. Like I think it just comes down to the 3-point shot for him. Like he does, I think, all the little things that you feel good about. And he's 6'5", so it's not like he's small, like JD's pretty small things considered, but I think you look at him and I think you like his story, like he was at Truman State and everything. Like another D2 guy was on the team is Derek White. So you feel good about those things. And I'm pretty sure, I think when he first got here, I think like his dad or something was a Celtics fan. So overall, he does all the little things that you want from, I think, somebody like that, who, he was counted on for like 5 to 10 minutes during the season, during all the COVID stuff, I remember. And he showed a little bit, didn't show that much. So it's just one of those things. But I think it just comes down to the 3-point shot for him, just because, you can never have enough shooting, and then the Celtics have such a tight, or, such a deep rotation. So.
All right, who you want to wrap with? Your choice. Last guy.
Mfiondu Kabengele. I hope I said that right. I mean,
that's good. That's Terada, a lot better. So, yeah, right. I mean, you nailed it.
My name is Souichi Terada, so I'm always kind of sensitive about that. But I think this dude, I guess we could just talk about the big man. I think he's just out. Obviously, he's outplayed Trae Young in a lot of ways, but man, he was hitting that glass so hard. It was crazy. Like he was just gobbling up offensive rebounds today. Like he missed a few bunnies that I thought he probably should have made. But like. Man, I don't think anybody expected this from him. It's suddenly here we are, like, I think he starts for a reason, right? Like, I think the coaching staff really likes him too.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, like, I bet, Ime and Brad are looking at that and like, this dude plays hard. This dude, like, rebounds well. Like, for, like, a fourth big man, like, maybe not the worst guy to have. Like, he is a little bit older, but, like, still, like, he's shown, like, he's been so impressive so far. He's only 24, I guess, which is around the same age as Matt Ryan. Brodric Thomas and Sam Hauser and all those guys. So, I mean, he was a former first-round pick, but, I think you feel good about him. He's looked really impressive to me so far.
Yeah, I mean, if you're 24, you hope you see you're dominating the summer league, which is important, which is what these guys did for a lot of this last game at least. And so, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's someone where you weren't sure who was going to win that battle, but he's pretty much, been head and shoulders above the rest of the pack as far as Boston's summer league big goes. And I don't know, like, just talking to people around league and stuff like that, it's like, who are the Celtics going to get as the best, as a big? Are they going to go with a veteran free agent, or are they going to go with whoever is the best looking younger guy at summer league? And so from that standpoint, this performance makes, make you think that, like, will they give him, give a partial guarantee, like a training camp invite or something like that? I think he's certainly playing his way into that after, bouncing around the G League and bouncing around a couple of teams after being drafted by, I think it was the Clippers back in 2018 or 19. But he had some hype out of Florida State, and then, he's never able to put it all together. But nights like this make you wonder, like, okay, maybe he's getting a little closer.
Yeah, and I don't know. Clearly, it seems like they want a veteran big. The veterans minimum contract, but maybe this guy is, someone you kind of keep around. Maybe if he doesn't get a shot with another team, like you keep him in Maine and see how he develops. And you never know, right? Like just like our last trade deadline, maybe you have 5 roster spots you have open, and then you can sign a guy like him. So he's not a bad player to have in your back pocket by any means.
Right. So nice to have those guys in the woodwork. But All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. We're not going to get into Justin Jackson, or sorry, apologies to Trevion Williams, but didn't really haven't really made the cut for any of these games, despite the hoopla during his training camp. But yeah, any last words on this team, Souichi? You super excited for a big rematch against the Warriors coming up later this week?
Well, the Heat did not get revenge. The Bucks, or the Heat did get revenge. The Bucks didn't, and we'll see if the Celtics can. What a strange schedule. I hope they play the Nets. I hope they play the Nets in the 5th game. That would be electric. That would be so funny.
Let's go for the full path.
The Grizzlies, and then randomly the Grizzlies.
Right. But all right. Well, make sure you're following Souichi on Twitter at Souichi Terada, SOUICHITERADA, and check out all his stuff at Mass Live. We'll be continuing to grind out coverage here for the rest of Summer League out in Vegas, and we'll have full coverage of Malcolm Brogdon and Danilo Gallinari's intros coming up later this week as well. So thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for popping on, Souichi, and we'll be back later this week to wrap up Summer League.